Welcome to the True Sky Crew podcast, where we share our cosmic pearls of wisdom. Why True Sky Astrology? Because when we align with the true sky, we align with our true self. We're your hosts, Janine and Sachi. Thanks everybody for joining us today on the live stream or on the replay. Today we're going to be discussing the U.S. True Sky Pluto Return, special episode 14. We're really excited for this one because there is some shenanigans. We are ready to shine the spotlight on y'all.
Definitely. And America's Pluto Return, I'm sure everyone has been kind of feeling that energy, but boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to unpack. But first, I'm going to make a special announcement. So if you tuned in to the episode where we went through February's transits, you will recall that we had so many aviation, or not aviation, avian alignments with all of the avian constellations, which are extremely important even in this Pluto return episode. And during that time, I had mentioned during that episode, like, oh, I have a special announcement, but we'll have to wait till the next episode. And this is that special announcement. So I have downloaded basically a new form of divination called Feathermancy. And so this was kind of an unexpected surprise over the past couple months, where I was just getting beamed this information on how to use feathers for divination purposes. And I just kept being told, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. I have a lot of other projects that I'm working on, so this was a surprise, but I just listened to the messages. And then once I recognized that we were having all these avian alignments, I realized that this is exactly what I need to be doing and finishing it up. So while using feather colors is a very common methodology of understanding feather messages, Feathermancy goes way beyond that to the size, the type of the feather, like what part of the body it came from, the bird, the condition of it, the environment of it, reading various gradients and such. So I'll just quickly go over the table of contents. It goes over which feathers you should be reading, what is a feather message, why you're receiving that feather message, where you can look for feathers for reading. We have the feather colors, which again, this information is probably the most prominent that you can find online, but all of the below information is completely new and fresh divine downloads for the collective. It goes into reading multicolored feathers, reading the left side and the right side, reading vertical gradients, horizontal gradients, the type of feathers, as I mentioned, like where it's from on the bird, different feather patterns, the size of the feather, the condition, if there are multiple feathers, or if you notice number patterns in feathers as well. And then it also goes into symbolism. So sometimes you will find feathers in the shapes of various symbols. And when that happens, it brings a whole nother layer of information. So I also include the symbols of celestial bodies and zodiac signs for astrological symbols and how to utilize that information when a Feathermancy message of this kind comes to you. I've also included information on the runic alphabet so that if you are getting feathers in the symbols of runes, then you know exactly how you are being communicated by the Norse pantheon. And then we have a reading feather questionnaire. Basically, it's like all the questions you should be asking yourself when you see that feather. So it's how to read those feathers. And then also I was given the information of when you see certain feather patterns, that they are corresponded to a particular tarot card. So if you see, for example, two like crisscross green feathers, what does that mean? It brings, again, a whole nother layer to feather readings, knowing that they are correlated to tarot cards. And then I give 4 examples of Feathermancy readings so that you can understand the different ways to, where the feather is found, who is finding the feather, the different attributes, and how to read it to get to the Feathermancy message. And then I've also included a little blurb on how you can use feathers for manifestation or magic. So using feathers, either wearing them or having them on your altar, any way that you feel is aligned for ritualistic purposes, you can do that. And then I also have a journal printout so that you can keep documentation of your Feathermancy journey. And then also a little blurb about me. And I want to share one other kind of cute little message that came through today. As some of you may know, this is not my first divination modality that I have birthed. I am the co-creator of Pokemoncy, so using Pokemon cards for divination with my partner Zubida. And so a whole, this is like birthing another divination modality. And as soon as I finished my final edit and published it online, I went to my Pokemon Go account and caught this shiny. So for anyone who doesn't know what a shiny is, basically it's like an albino variant in the game. And it's approximately 1 in 2,000 chance that you will get a shiny. And so Hoppip is a flying type, a grass and flying. And its Pokedex entries are talking about being carried away with the gentlest breeze. It can float all the way to the next town. Its body is so light, and it just really gave me like green feather energy. And even look, there's like some leaves in the background, which kind of gave me that vibe too. So I just thought it was a really, really special way that even like the Pokemon world is really, supporting this Feathermancy divination coming in. So yeah, I am so excited to share that with you guys. And for anyone who is interested in learning Feathermancy, you can go ahead and go to Sachi the Seer. You can go to the shop, and the ebook is available. Right now, it is priced at $11.11. So I wanted to make it accessible to everyone because as I was getting these downloads, it was very much impressed upon me that this is meant for the public. Everyone should be able to access this information because in the days to come, a lot of Feathermancy messages are going to be coming to the general public. And as you know, through February, we have all of these avian alignments. So if you're interested, check that out. There's a lot more information there. And also a great segue into daily planner and wall calendar, also available at sachitheseer.com in the shop. We have our daily planner, and if you've been following us along on our Instagram, we're posting our use of this information, pretty consistently. It is great. Every single morning I wake up, I assess the journal page, and it really gives me so much information on how to utilize the day's energy to the greatest extent. It is just such an incredible tool. And so if you're interested, the daily planner PDF is available here. And we also have the print calendars and the PDF calendar as well. And if you're interested in just checking out January or February, you can also order those there as well if you want to do a month by month sort of thing. And we also have March's information up, and soon we will have the rest of the months as well. So yeah,
Yep.
go get your goodies.
Go get your calendars and planners. And just to share a little bit on the Feathermancy, it was hilarious. The day after Sashi had mentioned it to me that she was doing that, I literally walked up on a feather at work, lodged in a set of stairs, and I was like, Sashi, tell me what it means. And I swear it was so spot on. It was wild. She was like, literally, you need to take steps to do this, that, and the other. And I was like, girl, I didn't even mention that I found it in a set of steps. I'm like, I literally found it in a set of steps. I'm like, what the actual heck?
Yeah, and it's
So super
incredible
funny.
because, like the picture that you sent me was of one single, white feather, and people might just look at it and be like, oh, okay, a white feather.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, angelic protection, a message of purity or something. But with the Feathermancy, methodology, there is just so much detail that goes into it where you can see where some auric holes are or what chakras need to be worked on, or whether it's the yin, feminine, or yang, masculine energy that needs to be assessed, and in what area, in what chakra. And yeah, it's just
Yeah, it was
It's
spot
pretty,
on. It was spot on. Like the way the feather was curving, where the splits in the feather were, like where it was fluffy, where it was like tight together. Fascinating.
mhm.
Mind opening. Like, wow, I'll never look at a feather the same way. So that's fun. And I think that is perfect timing for all these alignments that we're cruising through in this avian section of the ecliptic. Because we're getting ready to, I mean, we've already started moving through some of these alignments. But there's like eagle, toucan, peacock, swan, like winged horses, Pegasus. Like there are so many winged alignments on this side of the chart. It's just I think it's a really fun side of the zodiac and, the fixed star alignments. So I'm excited that this came through for you and you get
Yeah,
to
me
share it
too.
with everybody.
I'm so excited to share it with the world because as this information was coming to me, just utilizing it in all these different feather patterns I've been seeing out in the world is incredible. And even like people I'll meet that have feathers like on their hat and the way they're oriented, it's like, boom, I know everything about you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I know your intentions. And okay, yeah, it's really been incredible.
Yeah,
Um,
super fun.
yes. So now we get to a more serious topic of
Ha
Christmas
ha ha.
Pluto.
Sirius actually has something to do with it, so
Yes, it does.
pun intended.
So how do we?
Where do we want to start? Do we want to start maybe with the Sky app? Do we want to start with like 1776 in the Sky app
Yes, let's
so we
go
can
back
get
in
eyes on that?
time. Yeah.
Because it's going to be interesting to see where Pluto is in relation to the ecliptic, because he has such a non-traditional orbit.
Yes,
So
yes.
let's get
All
eyes on
right.
that, and then we'll just kind of flip back and forth between Sky app and charts.
That sounds good. All right, here we are on 1776, July 4th. Here we have Pluto in the void-ish space between Sagittarius and Capricornus, aligned with, of course,
Very
the
close to
eagle
Altair.
constellation.
Yeah, definitely moving through Aquila alignments. Thus, probably why the US's animal symbol is the eagle, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Little breadcrumbs everywhere. So it is very close to alignment with Altair. Actually, through my software, it's a little bit more aligned with Alberio in Cygnus, um, which is the Swan constellation above Altair. So it does have sort of this interesting swan eagle energy, which we all know with eagles, they're not the noble beasts that everybody thinks they are. They kind of they steal other animals' food if they can get away with it, that kind of stuff.
Huh? They're actually like really clumsy hunters, is what I've heard. And yeah, they do. They steal other animals' stuff. It's
Mhm.
funny, right before I left my, we'll call it matrix job to start doing spiritual work full time, an eagle chasing a hawk that was holding this giant fish. All three, well, two of them, the fish was dead, but
Mhm.
they slammed in to the window right in front of my office.
Oh
And
wow.
I watched it just like swooping and wham, like right in front of me. And I had some coworkers nearby as well. And it was just such an incredible, like, whoa, that eagle was trying to steal that hawk. And they both just like, just, it was, yeah, it was really intense. So I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah. So it's an interesting animal symbol. I mean, it technically, when you look it up, it's like power and majesty and all those things you think of. Um, but I really feel like there's another layer to it there for sure.
The eagle eye energy is still there,
Mm-hmm.
which now has been distorted into sort of surveillance state energy
Mm-hmm.
through, what's going on. here.
And I really feel that from Altair. Like my joke is I call it the astral zoom room because look how close it is to the Milky Way. It's like in that band of the Milky Way. So it can, on the low vibe, can really lend itself to like remote viewing in not a high vibe way, like being hacked through remote viewing. Um, and you know, the outward manifestation of the energetic thing kind of shows up all around you when that happens, when that's the case, right? So that's kind of where we're at. I think
Yeah.
part of it is we need to see that and say no to that, right? And be like, nope. But it's just again, it's an outward manifestation of an inward thing. It means we all can astral travel. We all have this capacity to remote view and do these psychic things that are very natural to the organism. So I think the point is to see that and develop the skill and work the skill and not to let the power outside of you usurp that, right? Because
Exactly.
if you don't embody your abilities, like, sure, something else is going to want to take that from you. Are you hearing the echoes there, right? Like the lazy hunter will take that if you don't embody that for yourself. So it's
Exactly.
definitely an interesting country to live in
hmm I
when
feel
you
like
see these
tax,
alignments.
I feel like taxes go through this constellation,
Oh
like
gosh.
tax power, because that is the lazy hunting. It's just
Yeah,
like,
totally.
okay,
The
just
money system.
give me a percent and I won't
Yeah.
attack you, basically. Just
The
yeah,
usury system. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel that too. And the echo or the energetic here because of the proximity to the Milky Way is really it's a very powerful galactic force, right? It's
Mhm.
not galactic center, but it's in that sort of vein of energy where it definitely wants to oversee. It wants to, I'm going to say manipulate or orchestrate from a higher dimension and then let the energetics trickle down, right? So there's a lot of shenanigans that goes on with that. So this is probably why a lot of us are here in this country is to be like, that's not cool. I'm not playing that game.
Mhm.
And to see it for what it is and understand that the groundwork, well, it's not groundwork. The setup of the energetics is coming from a higher dimension and we're kind of watching the play out level. So to be here in this country and doing grid work and doing things and working with this energy is to really get up in those higher dimensions and go out and do grid work, like higher self kind of work. So it's a big deal. There's a lot of implications with when this country became a country and some of the intentions behind it. Because that's
Mhm.
a 3D playout of the energetics. Like they knew what they were doing when they
They did.
drafted this document.
Mm.
So this is 1776, yeah.
Yep, 776. Almost.
Do we want to show some of the stuff to show the discrepancies in dates before we go any further? Because we did, in some of the research we did, we're like, hey, wait a minute, this there's several different dates that are very
Yeah.
important to take note of with
So
this country becoming liberated from England.
I guess let me just pull up all of them and see if I can share them all at one time and we can kind of go through the timeline.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Carla says strength of spirit. Yeah. That is definitely the thing to be embodied here on the high vibe for sure.
Mhm. Because
Willpower.
eagles can go very high. It is about seeing things from a higher perspective
Yeah.
and having um and also, I mean there are also, wisdom pieces there of working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Not to steal from the common man, but there is a way to, yeah, hunt with more.
To do it in alignment.
Are
More in
you able to
alignment.
see all these? I tried to highlight all of them.
We can just sort of look through them and then click out of them as we go. It's cool if they're layered. because some of them just repeat. It was just I was looking for
Okay.
snippets of things here and there. Let's see. Americans celebrate 4th of July as its Independence Day because the date. Oops.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay, this one.
I'll
Yeah.
let you sort them.
Okay, here we go.
Because the date shown on the Declaration of Independence is the 4th of July, 1776. But it was technically approved by the Congress on July 2nd. And guess what happened on July 2nd in 1776? It was the Sun-Sirius alignment that day. Not kidding.
Which we'll show when we go back to the sky app.
Yeah, we'll show
Or I
that.
guess maybe it's easier probably to do it in,
Yeah, we can do it on the
we can do it
software.
in
That's fine.
both or whatever. Okay.
So it means the intention was there on the 2nd. They were taking action on the 2nd. The 4th is when they started making moves to get it signed. It took 2 days to draft it, and then they started working on signatures. They didn't actually get most of the signatures. This is where it's like, well, it technically wasn't law until the last person signed it. Yes, Congress agreed on it, but to make things go down in the record like Saturnian, Akashic things, it's when the last person signed it that it is signed, sealed, and it is done. And honestly, like, we couldn't find the date when the last person signed it. And
Yeah.
Sachi and I were joking that's the 1776 version of redacted information.
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say we don't know
We don't get to see that wheel, the
what that
777
day
wheel.
is. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the majority of people started signing it on August 2nd. So that is probably a significant date, but still, I feel like if at some point, if anybody goes down this rabbit hole and you find a date that is definitively this is when the last person signed it, which was this Thomas McKean. And the date I've seen is January. Gosh, I forgot what day it is. The date in January. I think the 8th, maybe. So it could have been into 1777 that it was technically legal. So there is some conflicty days. We've pulled charts for both July 4, since that's the most common day. We also pulled charts for August 2nd. And then I think just knowing that the Sirian alignment, the sun was aligned with Sirius on July 2nd is pretty significant that year as well. So wild stuff, wild stuff.
It is wild. Do you want to pull up the chart?
Yeah, let's find a screen share.
And
yeah, go for it.
I almost got ahead of myself. No, go for it.
Let's see. This is the Sirian alignment for 7. We'll start there since that's what's pulled up.
And also,
so
if anyone has like questions about Pluto Return stuff, feel free to drop it in the chat.
Yeah. So this is July 2nd, 1776. This is like right after midnight that day in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You can see the sun was approaching Sirius. This black line is the Sirian alignment, and the yellow is, or the golden color is the sun. So if you just click through a day, oops, that was hours, sorry. Days. If you click through a day, you see on the 2nd, it actually crosses over that alignment. So pretty wild stuff that it was that. I was like, I wonder what day it's going to be, because I wonder, how precession plays into it. And it just blew my mind when it's like, well, of course it's the day that they started working on it. I was like, can that possibly be just synchronicity? I don't think so. That's people that know how to use magic.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what do we want to start with?
Let's go through when the true Pluto return is, talk a little bit about.
Do we want to look at Pluto on 1770? Do we want to start with July? Let's start with July. Okay.
Yeah, and we have a question. What will be the biggest theme of Pluto return? We will definitely go, after we show the data, we will go in depth with that, but it's definitely a death and rebirth of the US as we know it.
Yeah, some stuff's got to
Big
Make some
empire collapse
changes. Oops.
vibes.
All right. Sorry, this is always finagly with this. Trying to get this to work with all the stuff on my screen. Okay. I think I can work with that. Nope, not yet. Okay, there we go. Okay, Pluto. Let's find Pluto. There you are. All right. So this is 1776. Can see that Pluto was in retrograde at that time. Very interesting all by itself. It was very close to Albireo. Zoom in a little bit more so you guys maybe can see that a little better on your screen. So this is Albireo right here. That's in Cygnus. It's not a very bright star. I would say the most significant star is Altair because it is a very bright star. But it's just interesting that these two are kind of blended anyway. So it's like swan eagle energy, which if you get into sort of the occult meaning of swans, that's really interesting. Like I think Princess Diana had a couple of black swans on her lake where was her memorial in England. So they know some stuff about swan energy. So this is where it was, just so you can keep an eye on that. And then let's see the return date.
We are not
We didn't
kidding,
even touch on
people.
this. Yeah, we didn't even touch
Yeah,
on this in
this
the
is
transit
the
episode because we hadn't really even looked it up. So our power day for the February transits was the 22nd, like 222. Literally, the
and it
return date
is
is February 22nd for the Pluto return of the United States. Not kidding.
like let that sink in.
Yeah.
We picked it as the power day despite us not knowing that it was the true Pluto return where it is back in alignment. It's so incredible. And the weirdest thing is that on the tropical algorithm, so what tropical astrology was saying was the Pluto return was February 2nd of 2022. So there clearly is some sort of 222 numeric portal that is being utilized through this Pluto alignment.
Yeah.
Which ultimately is for, the goodness of balance and things like that. And before we began this episode, Janine and I were talking about the time loop that we are currently in right now. I'm sure most of you have probably already seen memes about it, but back in 2020, when it was the same, election of Trump versus Biden, the same Super Bowl teams were playing there. I believe it's the Chiefs and the 49ers. But don't call me on that. I just remember seeing the post like
Yeah.
briefly. But yeah, now we're in 2024. The exact same thing is happening with one of the biggest rituals in the country and the world, the Super Bowl, and of course the ritual of choosing US president. So we are definitely in a little bit of a loop, and it seems like the US is in the driver's seat of it.
Yeah.
Or the US is being utilized, I
Yeah.
guess,
That's the
as
key.
yeah, that's a
Mm-hmm.
better way to put it.
And I know personally through my own inner work and dream work, grid work, there's definitely themes of closing out Egyptian and Atlantean time loops that's been coming up in the past I would say month, but definitely sort of moving in from the past 2 months. So I
Yeah.
feel like the US is definitely connected into those sort of power funnels because of just once we look at where some of these other planetary placements were,
Mhm.
we'll look at all this and then we'll go back and we'll look at the rest of the planets and then that will where we'll start probably giving you the feels on what this is. But some of the Orion alignments, it's just like, oh, I see the game, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting.
Mhm.
So yeah, the 222 thing is definitely they're using that Gregorian power portal number magic
Mhm.
um, to set things in motion in the energetic higher dimensional fields that will trickle down. And if you can see it, and you can clear your own stuff if you're connected into any of this in any way. Like just doing your own inner work pulls energy out of those systems. So it's as simple as that, is stay in your lane and just do your healing work, right?
Exactly.
Clear your stuck emotions that may be connected to power and things that are very deep in the subconscious. And that would be probably connected to collective systems as well, because Pluto is very generational.
Yes. Pluto is
So,
the Lord of Shadows. So that's a planet that you work with to do your shadow work, to recognize your own
yeah,
cycles, any sort of transformation or death and rebirth that needs to be understood, like how an ending is understood as a new beginning. Pluto itself is a portal in that way. It's kind of
yeah.
the energetic recycler of the celestial system. Um, and we had Krista Marie in the chat mention that it's a leap year. Yeah, so that's especially even more
You bet
potent.
it is.
It's funny because we talked about that dream that I had where I saw where the leap day was in the calendar,
Yeah.
and you mentioned it. I was like, oh, I don't know if it's for the public or not. But it's so funny because we picked the power day, and I'll just share it with the public now. In my dream, I saw on a calendar a space between the 21st and the 22nd. That is where the leap day is. And then the outside portal is between the 22nd and the 23rd. So it's like a half a day basically surrounding the 22nd. And now
Yeah.
that we know this is happening, of course, that's what it is. So, but
Yeah.
interestingly enough, it's another day in the month, which I'm getting to not share what that is. But basically, you can have a repeat. So from the 22nd to the 23rd, plus 2 days, however you experience time during that time, it is so important to stay in alignment. And like Janine said, stay in your lane, work on your own shadows, focus on your own alchemy.
Yeah. Ask really deep questions.
And don't give any energy into any corrupted Capricornus programs.
Yeah.
That's
Leave,
government, that's
turn your TV off
politics,
that
that's
day,
yeah, it's
and
social
probably a few days
construct.
leading up to that. Just turn it off,
Exactly.
because that's
Yeah.
an energy siphon. Yeah. Super Bowl. Is it the Super Bowl that you said? I don't keep up with any
Yes, the
sports,
Super
but
Bowl. Yeah, the
if
Super Bowl, it's
anybody
the same
can
teams.
if anybody can corroborate who's playing in the Super Bowl this year, and if it's the same as what did you say, 4 years
Oh,
ago?
I'll look at it. Yeah, it
That
for
would be
sure.
awesome,
Let me look it up.
because that would be it's such a time, and those sort of sports rituals are such diversions and energy siphons too, like focusing your attention in a parabolic dish. Come on, guys.
Uh-huh.
Seriously.
Let's see. I had someone send me a meme in this group chat, and of course, you know me, I just started like going off. Like, yeah, we're in a time loop. This.
Yeah.
Um,
All
so
right.
yep, confirmed. Here, I'll
Okay.
send the
It's the same
meme.
teams. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
it's yep, Chiefs and 49ers. So I guess I did register that information.
Funny stuff.
Um, here, let me just pop it up. Oh, and 2020 was a leap year as well, is what they're saying. I
Of
didn't know it was
course it
every four
was.
years, but
Hilarious.
I guess it is. Let's see here. Um, here's the meme. 2020 leap year, Chiefs and 49ers, Trump versus Biden. 2024 leap year, Chiefs versus 49ers, Trump and
Yeah.
Biden. Yeah, that's
Car
literally like, that's how you
car
know it's a time loop. This is not an
yeah.
abstract theory. We are literally going through it as a
Oh my
world,
gosh.
especially the US.
Yeah. Carla says tornado in Arkansas on 2/22/22.
Mm.
That's a whole lot of twos. Yeah.
It's interesting. And Carla's saying that the Chiefs and the 49ers are both red. Yes,
Yeah.
red is
Red. Root.
obviously,
Yeah.
yes, the root chakra, it's safety, it's passion, it's
Security.
lust,
Yeah.
it's sex even, and of course, it's blood and war.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
of course
and think
the
about men battling in an arena. Like, God, it takes you back to Roman times, doesn't it? The
it really does,
circus. Yeah.
especially with the chiefs, right? It's like the chiefs. It's also a
Mhm.
ritual in terms of what happened to the native populations
Yeah.
here as well. And the 49ers they were the gold people, right?
I have no idea. I don't watch
I think
sports.
no, like not sports. I think like the slang term being a 49er.
Oh, like a gold person, like
It's
a
a
mining gold and
like
whatnot.
a person who came into the yeah, let's see.
Oh,
Yeah, gold was
yeah.
discovered
Oh,
in
wow.
19
That's
uh
amazing.
yeah, so it was 1849.
Wow. Incredible.
So it's like, yeah, literally the gold diggers,
The
you
gold
know, the
diggers and the
people who
root
were
chakra
there,
safety
yeah,
is
the
sacred.
people
Yeah.
who were there to just steal treasure, right?
Yeah.
Versus from the earth versus the chiefs who were the natives. So, you know, this is not professional betting advice, but my guess is that they'll have the 49ers win the ritual.
Yeah, and with a team with a number name, there's number
Hmm.
magic going on there too.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's a 4 in numerology. So trying to
Mhm.
stabilize something there. Like,
The 13. Yeah.
seriously, the memos I'm getting is like this is stuff that's affecting 9, 10, 11D,
Yeah.
that type
Ooh.
dimensional energetic shenanigans on a mass collective level.
Yeah. Did you see Krista Marie says they're playing in a new stadium that was designed like an old
Oh, for
Roman
crying out loud.
style. You can't make this stuff up,
Nope.
people.
Nope.
It's like, yep, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this chart on the screen is the Pluto alignment of August 2nd, 1776. You can see Pluto's still in retrograde. It's a little bit moved beyond that alignment. It's further away from Alberio and Altair separating. It's just kind of interesting to note where it's at, what directions it's moving in. And if we ever find the date for the last person signing it, I bet you money it's probably sitting right on Altair.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Hang on, let me find the proposed. I know I
Let me
screenshotted
guess. It's
the proposed
January
date.
7th
Is that what the no
of
is that what it said? January
1777.
7th?
No, I don't know. I'm just guessing it'd be like
January 18th.
17177.
There's some January 18th date. Let's
Oh,
let's
okay.
let's pull that one really quick just for giggles. Okay, we'll just call it transits. 18 January
Did
1777.
you mean to put 18 or 8?
Yeah. Thanks for catching that. We'll just do that time. I'm not sure if it was in Philadelphia, like if the person came to sign it in Philadelphia, but that's what we're going to use. Again, if we figure this out more definitively, we'll pull that chart too. All right, let's
Woo,
go.
look at that Grand Cross.
All right, let's see where you at, Pluto. Right there. Oh my goodness. Sorry, this thing is so fiddly, y'all.
It's all good.
Try not to click out of this, but I gotta scale them down so I can get to all my buttons. It's closer. Oh, look, the sun. Oh, for crying out loud. The sun was sitting on Altair that day.
Oh my gosh.
Sun Pluto conjunction. You
Wow.
can't make this stuff up.
Woo.
What the heck? Look at that. That was Altair and Alberio.
That is wild, which we just had the
And the
Sun-Pluto
South Node's really
conjunction.
close.
Mm-hmm.
What? Let me change the time so we can get the IC out of there because that's just kind of in the way. Hang on. Wait. Oh my gosh, the buttons.
It's okay. We are in no rush, just like Pluto, the slowest
Okay.
mover. So for those of you who aren't necessarily familiar with Pluto's orbital, it's a 248-year orbital. So it takes approximately 248 years for Pluto to return back to its space in the sky. So when we say US Pluto return, that's what we mean. When Pluto returns back to the time it was founded. And
Yeah, and
it's kind
that's
of
the
like an
difference
era.
between the
There's
tropical system and calculating in precession, right? Like I don't know, I don't do tropical astrology anymore, so I don't know how they were coming up with the 2022 date, even though that's a 22222222
uh-huh.
portal.
Yeah.
I don't know how they calculated that. Like I would have to go pull a tropical chart to see it with my own eyes, but calculating in a precessionally correct Pluto return, that's what it came up with was February 22nd, 2024. So that's 2 years different. That's how
Yep.
much in the future. This is why we say they're working it from higher dimensional realms. With tropical astrology, it's like a hijacked timekeeping mechanism, is because they're trying to program the future by using that
Mm.
system, but it stays stuck in loops.
Yes.
So with the true returns, the true, alignments, you can see what you're actually working on in real time. So this is fascinating for that 1777 date when it would have been, this is just not very deep research. It's just the date that I came across that said it was probably last signed on January 18th in 1777. But still look at what's going on in the solar
Mhm.
system. Crazy.
Yes, it is.
That is wild.
It is wild.
So they're definitely working with Sirian energy and by proxy because Sirius is opposite Vega and Lyra constellation, obviously working with Sirius, Lyra, Stargate things, like using that energy. You kind of get, I mean, we get fed in history that this was like, these are good people who want to separate from England and be independent and this and that, but it's like they were all freaking Masons, y'all. They're not
Mhm.
always on the up and up. So if they're working with Pluto in this way, you have to really use discernment, and they're working with Stargate alignments. So maybe some of it had intentions of being on the up and up, but obviously easy to program and usurp from the shadows
Mhm.
to insert lots of things with these kinds of alignments. So I think we should also, let's show, which date is this? That's okay, 1777. Let's look at the July 4 day because it'll be close enough with the alignments for the rest of the chart, because I want to, unless you want to go in another direction, I want to kind of look at what some of the other items are doing, planets are doing, because there's a very significant Orion thing that made my hair stand up when I saw it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
let's
was
just
getting Orion stuff. I sent that that Orion meme.
oh, that
About
was
like
okay.
giving it three
On
stars.
point.
Yeah, I started getting like Orion things. I'm like, why am I getting any activations on Orion? But of course,
Of course, because there's something
it's
going on
all
with
about
Orion.
Pluto return.
Yeah. So this is for the July 4th, 1776 date. Note where the south node is, kind of swimming around in Cygnus. I mean, this is all Cygnus and Aquila energy through here. The moon was hanging out in that same sort of Cygnus energy. Capricorn, Aquarius, I guess you could say. We'll pull up a sky app and go through the sky wheel too so we can see it with ecliptic. This is just to get alignments. Chiron was aligned with Saturata in Andromeda. Interesting. The Chained Maiden.
Mm.
That's Andromeda. Let's see. Uranus was hanging out. This is the one. This is the one. Uranus was hanging out at PI3 Orion, which is Tabit. It is the center shield star in Orion. So, this can be like hijacked technology. It can be the liberator as well. It can be all kinds of interesting it can be. Uranus is such a chaotic neutral guy. It's like he can
Yeah.
be used or abused depending on what your intentions are. But that shield energy makes it goes straight to why the US sort of gets involved in everybody else's business, right? It's sort of like it wants to have this face of like, we're helping these, countries, and we're the, people that step in to stop all the
Right.
injustice, but there's ulterior motives. Like, this is how they crash governments. And
Hmm.
then they send in their own teams to basically rebuild infrastructure. Like, if you read Confessions of an Economic Hitman, you'll understand how all this works. This is this energy. It's like kind of subversive. It's kind of erratic. It's definitely causing like the reinvention of things into something they want to make into their own. They want to mold it in their own way, which, Uranus can be very much about high tech, which is not organic tech, but it can also be about organic tech. So it does feel like they're trying to go down some of those inorganic timelines with this archetype. Now, he is the first subconscious planet. He's the first planet that you can't see with the naked eye. So it is a layer of sort of subconscious stuff going on with that.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like you
everybody
literally have
wants
to
to.
use technology to see
Mhm.
the planet of technology.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's like
You
it,
have to use a
it
telescope.
exactly.
Or I put this out there, or you have to be able to remote view it. Like,
That's true.
I've been on Uranus
Huh?
in my work, like on that planet in my work. Inside, like my interior technology has taken me to Uranus. So it does take technology, just is it organic or inorganic? Um, I just think it's a really fascinating place. It's almost like using that we're here to help, but there's ulterior motives behind it. Let's rebuild all this stuff with tech that you can't afford and bankrupt the systems there into
Hmm.
debt slavery. Like, it's kind of a weird game. And
It's
on
totally
Uranus.
Taurus, yeah, Uranus, Taurus energy too,
Yeah.
considering it's, the sign of plowing the back 40 of getting things done. If the work is even worth the sweat of your brow
Yeah.
and just manipulating material reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Taurus, Orion stuff. What are you building, right? Look at where Mars is. This is in the belt stars. Alnitak,
Yeah.
Alnilam, and Mintaka. It's between Alnitak and the middle belt star Alnilam. Alnilam has some very tough, low vibe stuff that goes on there. If you get into Ascension Glossary and look up Alnilam, you will find a treasure trove of things to go down rabbit holes on. Mars being there definitely says shenanigans to me. But
Yeah, it sounds
there's
like lamb,
yeah.
like the innocence of a lamb sort of thing with Mars there. Like, oh no.
Yeah, but again, like the whole talk about the portal day, like
Mhm.
being a central fulcrum, like Alnilam is the central belt star, is definitely an Orion portal, 100%. So I bet if we scroll this back, let's look at where it is on the second. Let's go back 2 days because I bet he's sitting right on. Well, it's on the 3rd, July 30th, sitting right on Alnilam. So that's like the day between when
Uh,
Congress said, yeah, sure, let's make this a thing, and on July 4th, when they actually had drafted it. So definitely a quantum portal there.
yeah.
They were in the middle of writing it with Mars
What
aligned
was
with that
Mercury
central belt star.
doing?
Yeah, let's go see what Mercury's doing. Let me go back to the second. Or were we on the 4th? I can't remember.
Let's look at the
Let's
second
see.
and move into the fourth.
Okay, okay.
Or even like,
Venus, let's look at Venus. We'll just go around. Um, oh, come on now. Venus was at Gamma Monoceros. Golly.
uh,
Jupiter was at Alhena. That's a Gemini star. That's like one of the foot stars of Gemini.
oh
Let's
yeah, and
see.
America is a Gemini. In case anyone didn't
Yeah.
know, America is a Gemini stellium.
Sun was aligned with Sirius. Yeah. America's a Gemini. A Syrian Gemini. So if you're living in this country, I feel like you can work through a lot of collective Syrian stuff, which is probably like how I ended up in this country is a crazy story because my mom's not even from this country, and how my mom and dad ended up here, it's kind of like the universe really wanted me in the US.
Oh, I
And
never knew that.
I'm seeing this chart and I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. Why I have Saturn and Gemini really close to this placement. I'm like, it's a collective thing. Thank you, universe. I see it. Okay, there's Mercury, this little guy right here between a Lynx star and a Monoceros star. Alpha Monoceros, and
We
I don't
literally
even.
talked all about this in our last
Mhm,
February transit.
yeah, and through
And look
going
at this
through
game.
Lynx mythology and like animal symbolism, like it's linked. It genetically comes from, I think, the Scottish Isles is where sort of that animal came from, or goes back to, I guess you could say. That's the research I found, and I was like, Scottish Freemasonry. I hear ya. Mercury.
Yeah.
So this would technically, I can't remember if, let's see if this is in the gap. Let me switch this over to the fixed star cusps. Let's have a look at that. We got fixed star charts for everything. Okay, so technically that's in the Gemini Cancer void. Mercury is in the void between those two. That's interesting.
I guess they're birthing a new thing. It kind of makes sense going from idea to
Mm-hmm.
the incubated reality.
Yeah, somewhere in between. Fascinating. Okay, we'll go back to the fixed star main chart. What else? Oh yeah, let's go look at Neptune. Oh, here's North Node too. Maybe I should have made a list of this. It might have been easier, but I think it's more fun to look at the
North
chart.
Node.
North Node is at Gianfar in Draco.
Oh,
Hello, dragon timekeepers. We see you.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's those higher dimensional manipulations going on there. It's not the biggest, brightest Draco star, but it's significant that it's lining up with Draco. Black Moon Lilith hanging out near Regulus, close to Regulus, closer to an Ursa Major star, but in proximity to Regulus. That should tell you something right there. And that's on this is for July 4. I think it is.
We had a question. Krista Marie said, what is the
Yeah.
X at 22 degrees? So I'm not exactly sure what you are referencing. If you could clarify that, Krista.
Do you know which symbol it was? 22
And she might be
degrees.
talking about Heart of Fortune, perhaps.
Oh, the circle with an X in it?
That would be my guess.
That's 24 degrees.
Okay, so that's not it. Unless is this the 22nd? Oh yeah, this is July 2nd. Maybe on the 4th it shows. Yeah, so that's
Is
part
it
of
the second?
Fortune.
Let's go. Oh, okay. July 4. Yeah, that's part of
Oh, okay.
fortune.
Uh-huh.
That's part of fortune on July 4, 1776.
And it's not really.
That moves so fast that you would really have to know the time to get any viable information from part of fortune because it really moves fast.
Yeah, that's more natal chart analysis.
I mean, you could use
I
it
mean,
for
you
this
could.
too, but you
You
would
could.
have to know the
Yeah.
exact time. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, meh,
Mm-hmm.
meh. It's in this general area. You can't get a whole lot of fixed star information because it's a calculation that's compiled of sun and moon. I don't know how they do the math, but it's sun and moon. Um, so it does give you some really interesting information, but you do have to know the exact time. Neptune, on the other hand, is very close to Alcade. So moving towards Alcade and Ursa Major.
Mm-hmm.
So big bear energy. Also, this whole area of the sky, as you can see, here's a Draco star. I don't have all the Draco stars on there, but it would be interesting to put them all on there and see if Neptune's close to anything in Draco there. This one's significant because it's really close to super galactic center, so it's not and that's about right here at this line, made big line. It's not close enough for me to get excited about it. It's more talking about bear energy here for me. So let's
I
see
agree.
if it was in the cusp of where it was on the actual alignments there. Oh, I think it's in the void. Nope, it's technically in Virgo.
Mm.
So Neptune in Virgo. Interesting.
Yeah, delusions about what daily life should be. I see that.
But also
Delusional
angelic templates,
organization. That's
right?
true. Yeah.
Potential to
I
access
mean,
angelic templates.
it's true. There is something to be said about the quote unquote freedom
Mm-hmm.
that the
Saturn.
US, you know,
Yeah.
is supposed to exemplify.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh, we're
technically, it's
pure.
also
We're
the
pure.
freedom that we do have.
We're the
There is
good
a lot of
guys.
freedom.
Yeah.
There's a lot of freedom to do a lot of things. Most people just don't take advantage of legally being able to do a lot of things.
Yeah. Saturn, not, I mean, unless we looked at the sky app and put on some stars that I don't use, is kind of in between stars that I utilize. So between Arcturus and
Ah,
a Draco star.
interesting.
Not super close, like it's not in proximity enough for me to get excited about anything. It has to be within 2 degrees for me to go, wow. So there's probably something else it's aligned with that is significant or opposite. Um, could be opposite something, but
Yeah, it's like a loose alignment conjunction.
yeah.
But
So
it's
let's
still
go on the other
interesting that
side.
that's where it is.
Yeah, on the opposite side, Saturn's kind of moving between that Saturata, or it's moving between Alpheratz and Saturata. It'd be about right here. Oh, and
So it
yeah, Saturata right here. So this is the opposition to where Saturn is.
so it's a
So
almost
Andromeda.
opposition to Chiron.
Almost. You could probably, it's within 10 degrees of it for sure. You could
Yeah.
almost call it a loose conjunction to
Mhm.
Chiron. Uh, let's um let's pull up the chart. What are we doing? That one. Let's pull up the color wheel so we can see the aspects. Because fixed stars are great, but let's see some aspects. Did I pull the right one? Yeah. Okay. So there's Saturn. Yeah, there's an opposition to Chiron. Sun opposite. Gosh, it's hard to tell what that's opposite. Is that South Node? Sometimes there's so much stuff on here. Where's
Opposite.
North Node? Can't be.
No, it looks like um ALB if you added that as a data point.
Oh, that's Albireo.
Mhm.
Uh,
I think that's
doo
what the
doo
strong
doo.
subsection is.
That's not Sun. That is North Node, South Node. Okay, that makes sense. Sun is here.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
I know these things
Okay,
don't
okay,
line
yeah.
up with their tick
Uh-huh.
marks. You have to
Yeah.
look at the tick marks because I have so much
Yeah.
stuff on here. Sorry. I know it's
No.
confusing. There's a square from Neptune to Mars. That totally makes sense to me.
Right.
What else seems significant? There is a look at this T square, Saturn, Chiron, and Sun. Shit, because you know Sun's sitting at Sirius.
It kind of looks like
So
it's using the ascension point rather than Saturn, because I think Saturn is the black tick mark below, not the blue
no,
one, I think. Right? Or
no,
no, it is. It's blue.
it's not. This is Arcturus.
Oh, okay. I see it.
This is
The blue.
Saturn. This is
I
ascendant.
see.
So this
Okay.
is off Saturn. I know it's confusing.
Yeah, okay.
I've had to train my brain how to read these charts. You do have to have a sort of, you just have to look at the color tick marks.
Uh-huh.
So it does mean the sun wants to show, if you know how to work a T-square, the apex is tense. There's two squares coming off of it. You've
Mhm.
got Chiron stuff that you have to work through. You've also got karma that you have to work through. And how you really work it is you just look across the chart opposite the sun, the apex, and what house and sign is it in. I wish I could draw.
It looks really
It's gonna be
close
in the fourth
to,
house
yeah.
because this is just a tick
Uh-huh.
into the 10th. It's gonna be in the fourth house in Sag
It looks
at
like
Vega,
Vega,
obviously,
yeah.
because it's opposite Sirius. So this tells me 10, 11, 12D, 100% there's stuff to reconcile at 10, 11, 12D because that's what Vega talks about as a Stargate. And you know, Vega Lyra, sort of the original human prototypes. And the Starseed lore is where they originated from. So, grid workers in the US, rejoice. You are here for a purpose to help the collective. It's intense. So Chiron Saturn stuff, definitely Akashic stuff to work on. I do feel that. I'm really feeling like the recoding the collective stuff. Clearing out those stargates, clearing out the Atlantean Egyptian stuff. I know so many people who have said like that Egyptian stuff comes up for them. I mean, they could be all over the
So,
planet, but a lot of the people I talk to online are in the US, so it's amazing how many of us are working on that. Because if you're here working on it, means you have karma connected to that collective somehow in some way. So go get an Akashic reading and go figure out what you're working on there. And again, it's not to go out and I need to do this work for the US. No, it's just clear your portion of it so your energy can't be siphoned anymore and used for silly stuff.
exactly.
In the energetics. Look at all those inconjuncts. God, I love inconjuncts. They tell you so much. I'm looking to see if there's any yods. If my thing would scroll in. I think there is. Oh, there
I think,
is.
yeah, there is. Uh-huh.
If it's on Pluto, it's on the moon. Well, again, we would have to really know the exact time for that to be a thing. So
Although
I'm gonna say no to that because I set these for noon, but you really have to know exact time to know moon stuff. So let's see if there's another one. Did you see another one?
can you zoom out a little bit? I can't quite.
Zoom out.
Yeah, like one more time, just so I can see
One
like
more.
what it
Oops.
is. Yeah.
It keeps.
Um,
Okay. Is that far enough or there?
okay, yeah.
I think that's the only one I see for sure.
Um, it looks, oh no, that's Grand Trine. Okay. Grand Trine between Neptune. Wait, hold on. Is it
Here,
to
I'll zoom in. Yeah. What
to
is that one?
Uranus and
Again,
Pluto? I don't,
that
it's hard for me. This
yeah,
is
the Grand Trine is yeah, you're reading that off of Path of Fortune, so that's you
okay.
can't.
Yeah, okay.
It's no. No. That can't be for sure. Um just kind of the slower mover. Well, anything that's basically a planet that's not the moon. So some interesting things going on with that. I think this T square is the most significant because it's popping off of Sirius up there, which is crazy. And the Mars Neptune thing, definitely delusions of masculine proportions. We're
Uh,
gonna save the world.
mm-hmm.
Stay in your lane, United States.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good times. Let's see. Let me jump back on the chats and see if we've got questions.
Anyone have some questions?
I don't see
Well, I know we
any.
had some like a question earlier from Rambe about the biggest theme of Pluto Return. Maybe we could talk about
Okay.
some themes
Yeah,
for
now
that.
that we've kind of gone around the wheel and seen what's happening.
So, Pluto, it's important to remember, even though Pluto can bring like tower moments, or we'll call them powder keg moments, where things kind of, come crashing down. Pluto's a slow mover and slow change usually happens. So it's like all the change that we're about to see, it's not coming out of nowhere. These are things that have been sort of at a low, slow boil for the past 248 years and are kind of like reaching a roaring boil to the point it's going to sort of boil over the top within the last couple years and within the next couple years, right? Because even though Pluto return, that is an exact date, and that can definitely be that sort of powder keg energy. Um, you can still feel Pluto return energy when it is like conjunct its return, if that makes sense. So, as I mentioned earlier, when the question was first posed, this is definitely empire collapse energy. So
It
we,
can be empire transformation energy.
it
It's
is
like a lot
information,
of stuff
but
needs to come up from the shadows to be
yes,
reviewed in those time cycles because Pluto does connect in a lot with cycles of time and things hiding in the shadows in those cycles of time. So it feels like a lot of that stuff probably wants to come up,
yeah,
will
anything past
be
the
available.
expiry date, according to
Yeah.
Pluto, it is going to come up. And again, collapse equals rebirth.
Yeah.
Again, every ending is a new beginning, but we are definitely in the part of the ending. That's what we are going to be witnessing. And we have for the past couple years. We've seen, I mean, the American presidency is basically a joke. Politics is basically a joke, right? More and more people are recognizing, right wing, left wing. It still allows the same, you know,
Ha ha ha. There's an avian joke.
why? Yeah,
Two wings on the same bird.
exactly. That's the same thing that they're playing. They're all on the same team,
Yeah.
and that is the team that wants to be making the rules.
Yeah,
And
and that's the people that puppet the president.
yes,
Like they just give him the
shadow
words to
government.
say. Yeah, he's just a figurehead. I mean, once we had probably Reagan as president, it was kind of the beginning of the end for the legitimacy of the presidency. Like, hello, an actor.
Right.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Okay.
Exactly.
Hard to
Right.
take it seriously.
That's why they call it political theater. It
Yeah.
is just a show. And I love that Carla in the chat even like put
The theater
tragedy
faces. Yeah.
comedy. Yeah, the
Yeah.
tragedy comedy. And that
Yeah.
is literally like the best way
It
to
is.
describe Pluto Return. It is going to be a comedy, but it will
Yeah.
also be a tragedy. And it really depends on how interwoven you are to the
Yeah.
current US government stuff. Because like for me personally, and my partner and I were just talking about this, like we haven't really heard anything about the election. It doesn't feel like an election year. Like our energy is so separated from political theater that we don't really know or care really what these people are doing or saying and this and that, divine will prevail regardless. Um, and part of allowing, high vibrational energy on the earth is like disconnecting from
Yeah.
this false government governing system.
And that's
Um,
kind of what they mean when they say like the timelines are converging or splitting. Like it's hard to say a difference when we're talking about Pluto energy with that because it's like certain things converge to dissolve so you can move to the higher octave of that thing. It's got to full circle itself. The stuff in the shadow has to come to the conscious awareness to make a different choice. And in this case, it's just talking about a collective choice.
Mhm.
So that's, I think, a pretty big part of the key is like, how married are you to the image of your country? And that goes for any country. Like, do you identify with the image of the nation, or are you just on your own timeline doing your own thing? And then, you can get into rabbit holes of like citizenship and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it goes down some really weird rabbit holes when you get into birth certificates and
Oh
the money
yeah, how
system and stuff
you're
like that.
born
And
as a
all that needs an
dead
overhaul.
entity.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're born as a dead entity. The government
Hmm.
owns you as a dead entity. And if you secede federally, which you can stay as a state citizen, the government legally has to give you the money that they take out
Yeah.
as
As
your
tax.
debt
Yeah. Yeah.
technically. And we actually know someone who's done that and got like 1.5 million
Yeah. It's
for
technically a
it's
volunteer
illegal.
system, but
Exactly.
nobody talks about it.
The legal thing. Again, there's all these like legal,
Yeah.
cheat codes
Yeah.
to so many things.
Yeah.
You're the money, just like money, getting free money from the government in the millions because you are a US citizen,
Not to
erasing your
mention like how much each physical human being is worth on the stock. I mean, that's why we have birth
Yeah. We
certificates
are the
and social
capital.
security numbers. We're the
We
so it's
are the
those kinds of
capital of
systems
Tampa.
that really need to come up, and they'll do the dog and pony show to keep you distracted, but it's just like keep digging, because those are the deep Pluto systems that need to change so you can get free of them. And you can go on your true organic timeline.
Yes.
So
And if we look at like what is this Pluto return exactly, it is basically all around the Declaration of Independence, right? It's like it went to a vote, then it went into writing, then it had to be ratified or whatever, signed by everyone until it was official. But what other things that we can expect is how people are declaring their independence.
yeah,
So, for you personally, good ways for you to be focusing your energy is how are you becoming more independent? How are you declaring independence from the dog and pony show, as Janine says, independence from governmental affairs? If you're not actually working in the government or in politics, which anyone who is, bless your soul, but it's like how much does it really benefit you? you know
mm-hmm.
um and how can you become more separate from it, because people whose emotional bodies, and I have some family members that are like this, like their emotional bodies are so dependent on what is going on in the political climate.
Yeah,
It's like, wow, you're angry for weeks because of something of about a person that you've never met and doesn't even know you exist. It's like, get a freaking grip on your own reality and where you are directing your energy, how you are consuming information. And I think on a large scale, we are also going to see some like legislative documents of what it means to be an American change over
yeah,
the coming years, because that's what was happening during this time. They were building a new legal frame,
right. A
through
new
documentation. This is
structure.
a
Yeah.
contractual agreement of societal
Saturnian. Yeah.
function. Yes, definitely. And
hmm
so we are going to see that being rewritten during this time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, it's going to
Or,
be a dog and pony show for
here's
the
the thing,
collective, but
because
you do it yourself through your own Akashic record, through your own,
that's it.
yes,
It's
your own soul
because
contract.
we're working at those really high dimensional levels, like when they did this during these transits in 1776. You can also recalibrate the energetic at those higher dimensional stargates just by doing your own sovereignty work, right? What can I do to take a step towards being energetically sovereign and clear? That's it. Just if enough of us do it, we anchor that energy in an organic fashion instead of the control system, cameras everywhere spying on you, wanting to put freaking Neuralink in your head, all that bullshit. Don't go down that Uranian timeline. You want to
And
be running the organic light codes. So,
exactly. And,
yeah.
part of it, a lot of it is perception based, which we just went through Pluto and Sag. We saw all those shifts and how the education system worked, travel restrict for Pete's sake. Like
Yeah.
there was
Yep.
just so many changes, and people were pretending like that was Pluto in Capricorn. Like, no, that is not Capricorn. We are going to see a better transformation when Pluto truly
Right.
hits Capricornus.
Yeah. Because the
Um,
shit's going to hit the fan.
it
Saturn's
really
going to be
is.
like,
Uh,
okay, here it comes. Like, get ready.
Exactly.
There will be no pulling punches.
Yeah, and the thing is like, in the coming years, days, 2 years, there may be times where governmental institutions say you no longer have this right. You know what I mean? For example, during COVID, they tried to suspend freedom of assembly, right? You weren't allowed to be in groups of five or more or something. And it's like, to actually think that someone can stop you from going to your family's house of more than five. You know what I mean? It's this
Mm-hmm.
delusion of control. And so in the coming
It
days,
is.
if laws change or whatever, right? Like you no longer have the right to this, right? No longer the right to that. Like it's not true. It simply is not true. And so to make sure that you're embodying that you have the freedom to do whatever you want. You are in control of your body, your choices, your soul, and
Yeah,
that's
for
going to be,
real.
again, declaring independence from what these government structures think that they can or cannot take away. certain rights.
Inalienable. I can't even say it.
Exactly.
Inalienable
They
rights. Like,
are
that's a
inalienable
your
rights.
honest joke.
And again, it's, that all, they are unalienable rights. Well, they're very alien rights
Obviously, very
going on
Syrian.
during the time. But they were also, and it's written in the founding documents that they are given by God, and whether you're an atheist
Yeah.
or agnostic, in terms of social contract, it is so important to keep divine aspects of our, again, inherent rights. The government cannot give or take it away because something divine, whether you want to call it the
Then
universe.
you have to ask who is God, and when you go down that rabbit hole, you realize we're all emanations of God. So sovereign unto yourself. Period.
Yes.
That's
And
it.
like,
So and
they're
agree to that other stuff.
exactly. And they're, I have posted this a couple times over the years of like, there are forces that don't want you to believe in God because then you don't have God-given rights.
Yeah.
Because then
Oh,
the
that's very
social
true.
contract comes from humans, people in governments. So, while,
Corporations, like it goes to corporate
yeah,
ownership. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
You're
corporate
they
entities.
already consider, because you have a social security note, like you're considered chattel anyway. You're
Hmm.
considered like livestock to be traded.
Working
So
capital. Yeah. Hmm.
undo that shit because
Yeah.
that ain't happening. So that's part of some of the things. Like seriously, I'm gonna link this book in the description when we post this to YouTube. But Confessions of an Economic Hitman, eye-opening book from a guy on the inside that somehow must have had divine protection because he was allowed to write this book. Telling about like his story from the inside of going in and crashing, basically
Yeah.
soft assassinations to take down governments
Mhm.
from the inside without starting a war. And if that doesn't work, if they don't financially figure out how to ruin them, then they just wage war on them and they stage some false flag thing and go in and take over. So not cool.
And it's happened so many times throughout history, and that
Yeah.
really is like the modus operandi of US foreign
Yeah.
relations.
Usurp from
Uh-huh.
within,
It's
sneakily.
yeah, it's like instead of again, it's like a false control system of like trying
Yeah.
to control everything outside of yourself instead of trying to change yourself within to
Right.
attract a better relationship or whatever it may be, a better outer reality, which again is like through that Virgo codes of like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you're.
And all the while, putting on this false front of we're the good guys. Like that feels like the usurping of the Virgo stuff. Like, hey,
Yeah.
look, everybody, we're
Oh,
on the high moral ground here. No, you're not. All
okay.
that dark eagle energy, those are like dark. I don't even want to call it dark because dark has feminine references. It's manipulative timekeepers. It's the manipulative dragon timekeepers that are kind of running that show. So yeah, it's interesting. So this is the charts. This is the chart for February 22nd, 2024 this year. So as you guys know, because you've probably been keeping up with recent transits, this day is the power day because look at Mars and Venus. Like
Mhm.
there is huge capacity to do that inner union stuff, like uniting the masculine and feminine through this. It's just fascinating transit. And then we need to talk also about how many times Pluto will be going over this alignment.
Yes.
Sun is it in the Capricorn Aquarius blend there? Let's
On the
um,
22nd.
look at it.
Let's see.
Oops. Oh, I need to pull up the other chart. This star chart. You can probably pull it up faster in the other thing, but
I actually don't have it.
it is
I'll pull
in Aquarius proper at that point. So Sun
it. Okay.
is in Aquarius, very close to Fomalhaut. It might even be aligned with Fomalhaut that day, depending on the time. Why won't my enemy button come up? Well, whatever. So that's fascinating. Okay. Where'd my other chart go now? Gosh, there's a lot. It's just, let's see what this one is. Yeah, that's today. Or not today, that's 22nd this year. So Neptune, what did I really want to, okay, it's in Pisces, we know that. I really want to look at Uranus because that was key with Orion stuff. Um, Definitely in that Cetus Aries void, so there is some very deep stuff that wants to be shifted here, you know. Uranus can be the planet of rebellion, which I just had an awesome meme come through my Instagram feed that was rebel, right? Like
Yeah, I saw that.
BELL, like to reattune it. And I'm like, brilliant. So ring that bell, right? Let's reattune those depths. And then obviously Mars conjunct Venus that day. Like this was the star that was aligned with Alnilam, that middle belt star in 1776.
Mhm.
So
The
around July 1st.
Philadelphia, right? That bell, the Liberty Bells in Philly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
There
this might be a challenging, like for people working on this collective stuff, it might be challenging because it's kind of towing that Orion energy with it, but it wants to come up to be, just seen,
it's
witness, make a different choice because that's
it's
really Mars is make different choices, take different
yeah.
action
Uh-huh. And in alignment with love,
with the feminine.
with
Yeah, with
yeah,
the feminine,
Venus
with
of like
compassion. Yeah.
yeah, of like how it's your utopian timeline, right? Of like doing things you love, being surrounded by things you love,
Hmm.
feeling love, being in that vibration of love, which is also how you access abundance as well. So, they're both things accessed through the portal of the heart chakra. So this is literally the perfect day to, when Venus and Mars are together, that's the feminine and masculine coming together to birth something. So it's literally a rebirthing portal of creating your own sovereignty templates of Capricornus, of governing yourself. Again, it's like declare independence from anything except your own free will.
Yeah. Saturn
And
hanging out in Aquarius. I think that's good because I feel like that's the Saturn is the crone and the chrononaut as well, time matrix person, worker,
Mhm.
keeper of the Akashics. Like I think that's a great place for Saturn to be if you're on the high end of it because you can really do some rectifying of things there. She's the weird, cool Saturn. So wisdom, she holds a lot of wisdom.
Yes, she does.
So get it on.
Hmm.
I just think it's fascinating all those galactic alignments, like the Sirius Vega thing that was going on with the sun for those transits. The Pluto stuff is fascinating. It gives you some, it points us in the direction of some of the shadow stuff that's going on. But the sun, I feel like those days in 1776 really gives us some insight into some bigger dimensional things.
For sure.
So I feel like it's fascinating. Let's see if anybody has any questions. Do you want to scroll through on the Sky app too? Let me stop screen sharing because I would love to see um this on a Sky app. There we go.
Yeah, and we have Krista Marie that asks, was that an eagle constellation that you featured in your preview? Such an American symbol.
Hmm.
That spirit animal is pretty special. And then asks what happens when a planet is in a void? Is that rebirthing? So to answer your last question first, so when a planet is in a void, it has a special energy of its own. So, for example, right, like Pluto here in 1776 is technically in the void space between Sagittarius and Capricornus. It is making alignment with Capricornus constellation, but it's also, making alignments up here in Aquila with Altair. So this is um the constellation that you were talking about, the eagle.
Hmm.
But when a planet's in a void, it depends on what void it is. And so if you have a placement in a void, let's say you have one between Taurus and Gemini, then we recommend that you go check out like the Taurus and Gemini episodes because we go through what happens in those void spaces and the different star alignments and things like that. I wouldn't say that every void is a death and rebirth whatsoever. Um, some places are depending on,
Yeah. It's kind of
what
like
it's
a
going.
blend of the two, but also a reset of those two. yeah, it kind of depends on the
Blend is the
energy
right
of
word.
those two constellations.
Uh-huh. Blend is definitely.
So Sagittarius being fire, Capricorn, earth, like there's definitely some simmering down of things that want to happen and stabilization. So it
Tons of air with
yeah,
all the
you
bird
could
alignments. Yeah.
yeah. But it also might feel like a little ungrounding. Like it can feel like I don't really know what's happening right now
Mhm.
because you're between energies, you're between constellations. So this is it, in the true sidereal software where there's delineated cusps, here's where this starts and this ends, really about 5 degrees. Well, it depends on how big the void is, but a certain amount of degrees on the cusp is a blend. It's basically that void space. So if you're using the true sidereal calculator, you can kind of guesstimate around that cusp that you're in the void and to feel through it to see how it resonates for you, because it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. But yeah, in general, it can be a little floaty, or you might feel like you need to sleep a lot because you're recalibrating, or meditate a lot. It depends sometimes. So
Yeah. It depends what planet or what celestial body,
yeah.
which void.
Like this
Um,
one feels like there's a lot of stuff, fire energy, there's a lot of inspiration, and then you may need to ruminate on it for a while, and then you start grounding it into practical applications here, or
mhm.
taking action in some way in Capricorn. So, yeah, it just depends.
Uh-huh. Um,
I feel like
so
in the void spaces too, the alignments have a bigger influence to some degree,
definitely.
or they
Or
have more of a window. Yeah.
non-zodiacal.
Yeah,
Yeah, alignments not within the zodiac have
right.
a lot more for
Influence
sure.
in those
Yes. Uh-huh.
voids. Yeah, we really want to develop some kind of app or software where you can get a circular line that comes off the ecliptic that shows you, like you could scroll around the whole thing perpendicular to the ecliptic to see, like a line would go through Pluto that would actually be a circle where you could see everything that it runs through in the fixed star alignments or the non-zodiacal constellations. Also, just to note, I noticed this when I was looking stuff up. Altair is the 22nd largest constellation. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Wow. Wow. That is
Out of
not,
88 constellations, it's the 22nd largest constellation
that's
in
wild.
the sky. I was like, you just can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. And it's funny, when I was doing the uh True Sky Astrology Daily Journal this morning, I noticed that today, under the fixed star alignments, we have the moon aligning with Altair today.
Yeah, I saw
And
that too. I was
it's
like,
funny
oh,
because
yeah.
I probably should have included it in my little thing, but my Feathermancy book, part of the dedication is to Altair and Altaria, which is a Pokemon that is
Oh,
associated with
hilarious.
the Altair. So I'm like, wow, look at all these
Grid
connections
work
that are
recode can be
happening.
very creative.
Uh-huh. And even on July 2nd of 1776, the moon at some point in this time during this day would be aligning with Altair. So a lot of Altair stuff coming through.
Yep.
Yep, there.
There it is. And, lunar matrix stuff in Pluto. Whew,
Mhm,
that's some shenanigans that can be utilized right there.
mhm.
But that's also why time is very important. Like, it would be great to know the exact time when Congress was like,
Ah,
bang the gavel. Okay, we're doing it, because, for those
or
faster
like
moving
when
planets.
it
Yeah.
started, when it ended, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like hard to tell, but it's funny that that was happening during this time.
Totally.
So we're having a Pluto lunar return
Yeah,
energy.
that's crazy.
Um,
Lunar matrix recode. So,
yeah.
yeah, just stuff from the shadows is going to want to come up to be seen for sure. Deep transformation of like the most subconscious layers. Well, I don't want to say the most because I think in my own research, I think there's another, uh, I'm not going to call it a planet, but there's another significant body outside of Pluto that holds very unconscious things.
Yeah, Pluto. it's the things that don't want to be seen, the things that want to try to hide in the
Mm-hmm.
shadows.
Yep, that eagle, like,
Mhm.
yeah, I was working with somebody who had a dream, like the dream was for me, but she's a very clairvoyant person and she messaged me. She's like, I had this dream that there was like an eagle that came up with the blackest eyes and they were remote viewing you. And I was like, yeah, I know all about that. I know who that is. Thanks. I'm working on it. So
Yep.
it's those kinds of shadow remote viewing stuff. Like that's because I'm karmically linked to that in different ways, which I don't feel like I need to get into. But that
That's
archetype has definitely come up for me, so I understand it well. It's also been what's keeping me kicked out of doing conscious astral work, like when I meditate, doing astral travels and things like that.
mhm.
So believe you me, I'm working my side of it. There's
Yeah,
a
for me,
huge cleanup. Yeah.
Eagle spirit has always been pretty prominent in my life because I thought I was a Scorpio my whole life.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
eagle spirit is one of the most commonly, like most people think Scorpio is Scorpion, Eagle, and Phoenix. The three, when really there are more. There's seven, but actually I have just gotten the download within the past like couple months that there's actually eight. Um, but anyway, yeah, so Eagle as an emanation of Scorpio, now Scorpius, a lot to do with that
Mhm.
investigative eagle eye sort of thing. So really seeing things from a higher perspective and being able to like literally find out any information that you want through any means necessary. That's why Scorpios are known as like human lie detectors. Like they can just sense in your tone or your aura or whatever it may be if it's, if you're telling the truth or not. And if they suspect anything, they will find the receipts to prove that you're lying. It's a very intense energy. And, Pluto being the ruling planet of Scorpius, there is some inherent eagle energy tied into Pluto naturally. So when Pluto is making these alignments and, with Altair or Aquila in general, there's a lot of that scorpionic energy that comes through too.
Yeah. And the tail of Scorpio, like galactic center, kind of sits right above the tail of the scorpion in that little dark spot.
Yep.
In this little, I wish I had my pointer that could work, but it's that little bluer spot or blue-green spot above his tail, a little
Or
bit
above.
higher.
Oh, is it
Yeah,
this?
that little spot right there. Galactic center's right in there. It's singing.
It is,
Your
yeah.
software is making funny noises.
We're
Ding, you found
selling
galactic center.
it.
Love it. Confirmed.
You guys,
Thank
it's
you.
not that hard.
So
That's a
I
little
do want to mention
Scorpio
the
energy.
dates, because we're going to be feeling this transit all year. It's not a one and done thing with Pluto. He makes very small incremental forward movements, retrogrades half a year, forward again. So we're going to be making 3 passes over this alignment. So February 22nd this year is the first pass. Around July 16th this year, he will retrograde back over this alignment. And then December 30th,
All right, hold on. What's this?
practically the last day of this year.
So
Um,
say it again. So first is January 22nd. January
the
22nd.
July, or sorry, the first date is February 22nd, the one we've been looking at.
And
The
then
second date is July 16.
okay, so we'll just hop to the day.
So he'll be in retrograde for the July 16 transit.
Okay.
So it's going to show that it's just in the same place, but in the sky app. I wish sky apps showed that the planet was in retrograde. I don't know why it doesn't do that.
I know. I'm surprised with
Have
that
words.
too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then as he goes direct again, he will cross back over this alignment for the third time on December 30th. So this is the more graceful. We've done as much squeezing of the Plutonian levels of things as we can through the year, and the third transit tends to be a little more
It's literally
graceful, and it
right.
kind of stabilizes the shifts, as you might have some calibrations to do or something may come up. But again, this is for the country, so it might be just felt collectively.
And again, these would be like more powder keggy days to look out
Yeah.
for, which is so interesting because when I first did like celestial astrology back in 2022, oh, it's 111.
The
My
jokes.
yeah, like the that I calculated, which I can't figure out how I did it then, but I have it pinned on my Twitter or X or whatever it's called, that I found like the closest star associated with it. I basically, took the closest star to Pluto in 1776 and then found when it would be the closest to that star. I think it's like 198817. Um, and I somehow calculated December 27th of 2024. And that was the date that I was using for so long. When I recalculated it and triangulation, I actually found it was July 4th of this year. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Oh, that's
But
wow.
it's a
Well, I
completely
mean, the
different type
December
of
date makes
calculation.
sense because it will be there
Uh-huh.
after a retrograde period in December, so that one makes sense.
Yeah.
July 16th, I mean, the July 4 one kind of makes sense because July 16th, it'll be, according to the software, it'll be in that exact alignment perpendicular to the ecliptic again.
Uh-huh.
What is this for 2024? What we're
Yes.
looking at?
Fall 2024.
Can we skip back to 1776, just any of those dates to see where it is in relation to the declension to the ecliptic?
Yes.
I want to see if it's above or below, or
It's always below.
it's always below in that area for now.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
During our lifetime.
Yeah,
Um,
it might be a little bit closer, not much. That's so funny. Ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
So that's the star and the crosshairs that you were, so it's a little bit higher.
So the star I was referencing that I use, although it's so weird because this like more professional version of this app doesn't actually let me do the things that I can do on
Almost.
the lesser one on my phone. But
Mm.
basically, like what I would do is take like these three stars, see
Mm-hmm.
when Pluto's triangulated back here, approximately like equidistant between these two, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, and then find that in 2024 of when that would
Mm-hmm.
happen. But again, I can't like click on the stars, so I can't really do it
Mm.
here.
Yeah. Anybody knows any software or app developers? Send their name to us because we have ideas.
Yeah, these are
We
complete.
need to get some software built that functions the
Yeah.
way we want it.
Looking for software people who want to build some cool things with us.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, so
yeah.
Krista's comment about the eagle, yeah, that's why we were using the eagle imagery, is because the Pluto alignment aligns through Altair,
Mhm.
which is in Aquila, which is an eagle. So when I saw that, yeah, I was like, oh, that's why our national animal is an eagle. I'm like, uh-huh, okay.
It was supposed to be the wild turkey, but they changed it to eagle, sort of last minute even.
Yeah, a turkey would
Turkey
have
became the slaughter
much
victim.
cooler implications. Like turkey animal symbolism is amazing. I actually have a deck of cards that I pulled white turkey the other day, so let's go find
Ooh,
white turkey
yeah.
because I was like, that's a symbol of, all the white feathers, the white feather I sent you. And then that day I was like, I'm going to pull some of these feather cards because I have a deck of feather cards. And I pulled the white turkey, the white eagle, and something else that was white. There's the eagle. What was the other one? And a white owl. I was like, oh, this Pluto return is on. So it's
Christina
funny.
energy coming in too.
The white turkey says, the power to heal the earth is within you.
Yeah.
So that's why they didn't pick that as the national animal. And the eagle, well, the eagle is a white eagle on this deck of cards, but it says the connection to the divine guidance is within you. That's the white eagle.
Mhm.
I bet they have a different color eagle too. Let's see.
Which is also interesting that they chose the bald eagle of all the
Yeah.
eagles. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, so you're missing your crown.
Yeah. Yeah, baldness, like I've learned through my dream work that your hair symbolizes chi, like how your energy field emanates out of your crown chakra and your biofield comes around you and comes back up through your root. Hair is symbolic of that chi flow coming out of your crown, and being bald is the lack of chi. I was like, bald eagle, huh? I hear
Yep,
you.
exactly.
I hear you. The things you learn in dream work, you're just like, I
Uh-huh,
see the game. I see the game.
exactly. And Krista was saying, but those fools eat the turkey on a holiday in November.
Of
Yeah,
course they do.
exactly. It's a slaughter ritual.
Yeah, it's sad. I
Oh,
haven't done that in many years because it just, I have a problem with meat at this point altogether. Like, I have issues with some things.
yeah.
Eagle, you are learning all aspects of spiritual connection and reaching new heights. So which end of the octave are you on with that? But
Mhm.
that's a great card for this sesh. And all the white. The white eagle is really cool. I was really surprised to find a white eagle in this deck and to pull all three cards like at the same time. I was like,
Mhm.
what in the world?
Not subtle.
That is awesome. So, yes, exciting. So, anything else? What else do we want? Is there anything else we wanted to share, talk about? Any other questions in the chats?
I don't think I have anything else to
I think
discuss.
that's a lot. Yeah, when you get
It
into
is.
like
Okay.
the
Respectful topic.
earth,
Yeah.
the collective play out level, like I feel like in summary, you're probably gonna feel some or witness some collective energetic stuff surfacing around those dates where Pluto's going to transit over this. I feel like they tried to front load stuff in 2022 when the tropical system said the Pluto return was, so you might see some of those timelines come up to be collapsed. You may also see echoes back to 1776. It would be cool to know what else this connects in. Like I said, for me, it's like Atlantis, Egyptian timeline stuff. So there's probably spirals of time that we have a portal to collapse certain things from many dimensional layers, which I think is really cool. But you're probably going to notice things around those dates, like February 22nd. Obviously, that's Power Day this month, July 16th, and December 30th. And also in 2025, the retrograde, Pluto's retrograde in 2025 gets really, really close to this alignment. And that's in October 12th, on October 12th, but it doesn't actually cross it again, but it gets within like 0 degrees in like just a few minutes, like maybe I think 15 or 20 minutes of being aligned with it again. Like it's really close.
Mhm.
So you're going to feel it, but you probably won't get the energetic crescendo in the same way as we will this year. So everybody hold the vibe for the US. Everybody listening in another country, send good juju or just, you know, hold the line.
Exactly.
Clear your stuff out of all those grid work spots that are stargates and inner gates. It would be interesting. Maybe we'll have to do a post on the astrocartography for 1770. Maybe we'll do that. I'll do a post
Yeah,
showing the
that would be interesting.
astrocartography and do like a comparison of major stargates and inner gates on the planet and be like, this is probably where we have opportunities to clear stuff out of these planetary gates.
Yeah, and are you talking about doing the 1776
Yeah,
astrocartography one? Yeah,
yeah,
cool. I'm really interested to see where the Mars line,
me
where
too.
it is, because it's like I bet that's a warpath.
I bet it is. I keep getting like Middle East stuff. Like I have figured out dream imagery that's like, oh, that symbol translates to Iraq. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, and I got a big one dropped in yesterday. Like all my stuff manifests in 3D. Like, and I have dreams, and then my higher self knows in time certain things will come across my path that connects the dots that I got the bigger memo on the dream, but I didn't have enough information yet to make it make cognitive sense. And yesterday, a big one dropped in. So Iraq, I think, is like a 10D. It's like Iran and Iraq are like 10D inner gates and stargates. So if that tells you anything about that whole war in the Middle East, perpetual war in the Middle East, all stuff in Palestine, there's other gates in Palestine and all that stuff. It's just, watch it slightly from a place
It's
of
like be
discernment and
aware,
detachment. Be aware,
be
do
aware
if
but detached.
you can do something, feel free. Like if it's in your direct experience, definitely feel free to take steps, or if you're affected by it, take appropriate action steps. And then everybody else, just do your work where you're at and pull your energy out of the grids that support that.
Exactly. Focus on what your mission is, what your
Yeah.
purpose is, how you make the world a better place, and do not allow things that you have absolutely no
Yeah.
control over, that you can't change, dictate your
Yeah.
emotional reality or your mental reality or your spiritual reality.
Yeah, because for some people, this may not even be Earth karmic stuff. It could be galactic karmic stuff, like you have Syrian things or Lyra, Vega Lyra things, and you're working on energetics at those dimensional levels.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
sometimes it goes beyond the play out level on just what we're experiencing as a 3D human.
exactly.
Go look at your placements in your birth chart and see if you have any alignments with Sirius or Vega.
And another thing, that I mean, we kind of like touched upon here and there, but another thing about Pluto return is like warmongering and
Mhm.
war stuff. Obviously there's already, some battles going on, I guess I'd call them. Um, but be aware that the general public will probably they'll try to pull the general public into war mentality. Which I know they've already been doing that stuff, but it's will probably increase more and more, and that's just more of a sign to detach. And you'll also see a lot of people trying to call other people out for not saying or doing enough for certain things, but that's usually just a reflection that those people aren't doing enough of what they're supposed to do. It's like, you wouldn't condemn your neighbor for rescuing children from a burning building by saying, like, oh my God, you're not helping families in a country 10,000 miles away. It's like, no, I'm helping the family next door whose house is burning, sort of
Yeah.
thing. So that's the level of mentality to have about you can change. And again, it's about declaring your own independence, being in your own sovereignty, and not feeling like other people's opinion or governmental or political opinion has to dictate the way that you think, feel, spend your time, spend your money, anything like that.
Yeah. And it's also not saying like go off and be a prepper and like be prepared for any it's not about that. That would be, I feel like preppers have sort of a right idea about sovereignty, but they go about it from a place of fear, and it's really to do a similar thing, but from a place of love and alignment. Like what I see is self-sufficiency and sustainability and like working with the land more. It's less about using technology in a way where it's invasive and more just using it, touching it lightly and using principles of physics and like living more in alignment with nature, like earthships. Um, and doing it from a place of love. Like I love flowers, I love vegetables, I love working the land, I love, doing these things. So do it from that place of sustainability, like, and then teach other people how to do it instead of, oh, pack a bag and you prepare for the apocalypse. Because we think about Pluto like that, like tower moments and stuff, but think about it more like a very slow generational shift. Do it from a place of love.
Mm-hmm.
Know the thing. Know, with Pluto, it's like you've got to see the subconscious thing. You've got to see the thing that is hidden, and you still continue to make choices from a love-based place. So it's not to condemn anything. It's just a step on the stair to making it more in alignment. And yeah. some stuff is really hard. Some of the things, the collective energy that they pull into manifestation is really challenging, and you deal with it the best way you can. You help where you can, and you do what you can from a place of love. So
Exactly. Yep. Avoid fear. Avoid the noid. Because that's another thing, even all these changes that are coming, you know, there is nothing to fear because those who are in divine alignment, and if you're working on your soul stuff, you know, you're going to be fine. The divine will protect you and make sure that you have everything you need in divine timing.
mhm. So Ram Bay is asking, is there anywhere to get a true sidereal astrocartography? That's a really good question. Like, I have true sidereal software, and the astrocartography charts pull up exactly the same as the tropical chart. So I don't know if that's something with the settings, like it's not pulling a different chart, or if it's just not different because it's astrocartography. I'm not sure how it's calculated. I need to read some books on astrocartography, but at this point I'm kind of like, I don't know if there's a difference because it's not, I don't think it's really using the zodiac, it's just using the planetary placements superimposed where the line is on Earth. So that's a really great question. If anybody has any input, I would love to hear more about, is there a difference between tropical and true sidereal or true sky astrocartography? Is there software available if there is a difference? Because I wanna know.
Exactly. Yeah, Janine and I have actually talked extensively on this before, trying to figure out exactly what it is. So also if there's anyone who does astrocartography who would love to connect with us and sort of explain exactly how
How it's
those
calculated.
calculations
Yeah.
are made and superimposed on the map, we would really greatly appreciate it.
Because I think there's so much value in looking at it
Yeah,
from, it imposing those lines on the earth, like looking at it from the outside in. I think it's very valuable information, but I also don't want to talk about it until we know for sure that it's correct information, not
I agree.
tropical, i.e. not tropical.
Rambo says that they've been trying to hunt down a living one. If not, I want to make one. If you make one, we will
Awesome.
be so appreciative and we
Yeah.
will use it and
We will promote the heck
showcase
out of
it.
you.
Yes, we will.
So I just followed a astrocartography lady on Instagram, so I'm gonna see if she has any references or if there's any recommendations she makes for learning how to do it. So that will definitely be an ongoing project, the astrocartography.
Definitely.
Or, until I can confirm that my software is actually pulling factual true sky stuff with the astrocartography. So,
We'll have to see.
yeah, yeah. So if anybody has any more questions, throw them in. Ram also says, side note, Aquila Altair is my lunar nakshatra in Vedic. Hoo-hoo.
That's awesome.
That is kind of cool. That's very up in the astrals kind of energy.
Yeah, check out Altaria, the Pokemon, and work with the spirit of that Pokemon. Trust me, it will change everything. It's an angelic guide. It's really cool.
Nice. That was a big download. I had no idea. I didn't think it was gonna take like as long as it did.
I know, yeah, it's already been 2 hours.
I know,
It went
really,
by so fast.
it did. It really did. So yeah, let us know in the comments if anything comes up for y'all through these transits, or in DM us in the group chat on Instagram. If you're not in the group chat on Instagram, feel free to DM us and we'll add you to the group. It's a
Mm,
fun group.
it is fun.
I'm sure this transit will be popping because there's so much going on the 22nd. Like
Yes.
everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my God, this happened! Oh my God, that happened!" It's so fun when we can corroborate, the energies
Hmm.
as a group. That's
Yeah, and
fun to
even
navigate.
like a lot of dream themes
Yeah.
have
Oh,
been that's been a common topic of conversation of, people having dreams of similar things and sharing.
yeah. Somebody was sharing about stuff that manifested for them in 3D, and like It's nice to have a group when sometimes stuff like that happens and it shakes you up a little bit. You're like, whoa,
Mhm.
that was weird. It's like, yeah. Stuff can show up through some of these transits for sure, where it's like it just pops into your reality stream and it's like, here you go. So it's good to be able to look at the transits and kind of understand where it's coming from, what you're working with, what you're working on.
Mhm.
Oh, Ram says he's a super Pokemon fan.
Oh yeah, the cloud dragon. Yep, it is. It's a dragon type. And that's awesome. You're a super Pokemon fan. Me too. I'm also known as
Yeah.
Gym Leader Sachi. So
Yeah, good times. All right, does that feel pretty complete? Feel
I
good about
think
that?
so.
All
Yep.
right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us live. It was a lively chat. It was fun. And thanks to everybody who's joined us on the replay. True Sky Crew can be found on YouTube and Instagram at the True Sky Crew. And I'm Janine, and you can find me on Instagram at Inner Sky Alchemy. Right now, I think pretty much everything is closed for February because we're getting ready to pick up the daily planner stuff again and finish it out for the rest of the year. So I'm on reading vacation for another month.
Same here. Well, this is Sachi. You can find me at Sachi the Seer, previously Sachi the Scorpio. You can find me at Sachi the Seer on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter/X. And my offerings are currently closed except for one-on-one sessions or emergency readings. But as you know from the beginning, go ahead and check out that Feathermancy divination guide. Tons of information in there that you can utilize for the days to come. And I also have my Astrology 101 and 201 courses if you want to learn how to read your chart and master your chart. And then also Tarot 101 if you want to learn how to read tarot. So, oh, and also my timeline jumping workshop, which I probably should have mentioned earlier. My partner and I hosted a timeline jumping workshop the day before we had our True Sky Awakening. Or no, it was the day of on 8/8. So, yeah, it is very profound, and you do it with the power of unicorn guides. So, really great, especially with Monoceros alignments coming in and a lot of rainbow codes that are going to be anchoring in this month, really, really, or into March, um, with St. Patrick's Day and all that. So, yeah, lots of really cool things that you can do on your own. But my personal services are limited at this time.
Yeah, I think the Feathermancy is going to be super fun as we transit through these avian alignments. Everybody have it on the ready, have it
Yep.
handy for when those feathers start showing up.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely missed. They show up at funny times for me. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Our next episode is going to be March transits in 2 weeks on February 22nd, the power day. So everybody jump back on. Like, we can't make this stuff up. It's just when it happened to be. It'll
Mm-hmm.
be episode 15, March transits. Come fill us in on how you're feeling the vibes that day. And until the next episode, keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the sky, because the true sky don't lie. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night.